What is up, everybody? It is Alex from Heavy New York calling from Zoom again, and this time we are here with Ava and Miriam of Grandma's Ashes. It is so great to be able to talk with both of you. Thank you so much for being here.
Hi, thank you for inviting us.
Thank you very much.
Anytime, anytime. It's so great to have you here. This too shall pass is a fantastic record. Definitely needs to be heard by everybody around the world. Can't wait for more people to hear it. What was the thought behind the making of this album? Was there sort of like a vision that you both had in mind in a way, or were you kind of like rolling the dice with the making of this album, having an EP before and all that?
Yeah, both, I think, because this album was made in 3 years and mostly during the first lockdown
Pandemic.
in France. And we had a few songs before the first lockdown, like Caffeine or Lost at Sea. And the new ones, were planned, like 10 songs on the album were planned before, and we had a very clear plan of what to do, what to express in it. So yeah.
Yeah, since we began by composing Caffeine and Lost at Sea, we knew that it was going to be an album about introspection, depression, and how becoming an adult in kind of a sick society or something like that. And we thought that it was going to be really something about the three of us against the whole world, because it was just the three of us in the pandemic in our small studio rehearsing, and it was like nothing else was going on. So it was really all about what we were feeling, on how we became like young women in the world, and that's how we made it.
In the 3 years of the making of this album, is what we're hearing how a lot of these songs were originally made, and was this the original idea, or did the idea of this album change a lot over the span of a 3 year period?
Mm-hmm. No, I think the idea was the same all through the process. As Miriam said, we really wanted to express like resilience or anger and friendship in it. And
Yes. I think at one point we thought that it had to be a certain number of emotions, and we said, okay, we have a song about anger, we have a song about resilience, we have a song about happiness and love. So what is missing? What's the part of the puzzle that is missing? Yeah. And at the end, like the last songs we composed were Cassandra and Cold Touch. And it was like the missing parts of all that had been composed before, and we were kind of trapped in this loop where we couldn't finish the album because there was that song missing and that part missing in that song, and it had to be a whole of emotion to be finished.
Having an album about this sort of introspection and these subject matters that I think are very relatable for a lot of people in the world, why do you feel that the style of music that we hear in Grandma's Ashes was the best type of music to demonstrate this style? I see, like, punk elements in it, heavy metal elements, some rock elements. I think it's an album that appeals to multiple audiences, but why do you feel like the style of Grandma's Ashes was the best way to get this point across?
Yeah, I think it's because prog rock, progressive rock, is the best to tell a story and to I don't have the word.
I think that when we compose songs, we go from an emotion and we try to describe it in music. And choosing progressive rock makes us we can incorporate elements of different genres. When we're angry, we're going to more punk riffs. When it's a more complex emotion, we incorporate more rhythmic elements and some odd numbers and odd rhythmics. It's really when Eva wants to say something with her voice, we are going to play what is the meaning of the lyrics with the music. I don't know if it's clear, but it's like that.
Yeah, I'd never thought Grandma's Ashes would be almost called prog rock, maybe because your songs are like under 20 minutes long. So
Yes.
it's funny to hear you say that, actually. Would you almost consider this to be a concept album, though, like in a story? Like, is this album meant to be listened to, like, starting off with A Mon Seul Désert? Sorry if I destroyed that, and
Yeah.
ending with Lost at Sea? Is it almost meant to be kind of listened to in a way and experience like a novel or a film of some sort?
Yeah, I think we wanted to make the listener travel through the album, starting with Un seul désir, and just after this track you have Cold Touch, and this is like telling the story of you live in a beautiful world. It's Un seul désir. It's beautiful, women voices everywhere, and bam, someone dies, and your world is upside down, and it's Cold Touch, and all the album tells this story about processing emotions and difficult emotions and going through various and multiples emotion and state of minds, and we wanted that to that the listener could experience that.
Yeah, at one point we thought about the different stages of grieving when you lose someone, and we thought it was a bit like that. Like at first, you're really angry, and then you have the kind of a passage where it's just empty, you don't feel anything. Then you begin to feel something, some more love, and life goes back to you, and it's just all those different stages of grieving, until Lost at Sea, which is a special song because it's really sad, but also the voices at the end are. There's a message of hope, I think, in this album, that it's life is a cycle, and sometimes things go bad, but it's always it passes, and things can be better after.
Yeah.
Yeah, like waves, like the wave sound and the mermaids voices you can hear coming back and forth during all the album.
Mm. Is this mainly coming from experiences that all three of you have had? Is this and dealing with loss and dealing with introspection and all this, or were you almost kind of like putting yourself in other people's shoes, maybe talking about other people's experiences, or dedicating it? Because I feel like we all, life. One of the things that we all go through in life is that there's good times and bad. There's always the hope to get it better. Is this almost kind of like personal, or is it very as I call it, documentorial in a way?
I think it's very personal at first, but we all three of us experienced different things. And during the first lockdown, I experienced a loss of a member of my family, and I really wanted to talk about it in the album. And the two girls were like in my shoes to play it with me and to make a music about it. And all we have all three different experiences, and so yes, it's both personal and universal.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, yeah, I think we mixed the experiences of the three of us, and that in that way we try to do something universal. Yes.
Yeah. Do you want the material to be open to interpretation? Because being that you do approach this from a personal point of view, do you want the music to be open to interpretation, or do you want the listener to kind of see things from your point of view and maybe kind of put yourself in your shoes, put themselves in your shoes a little bit?
I think still both options, because we want through our songs to make the music and the interpretation very open for everyone to think about what they lost, what they loved, and who they loved, and yeah, both feel what we experienced personally too. So yeah, it's both.
It was a big question when Edith wrote Aside, which is a song about her coming out and the way it felt with her parents. And we made a video clip about it, and we thought, okay, should she be the protagonist? Should she be playing it, or should we hire actresses? because if it's her experience, if she plays it, it means it's her experience, and that maybe some other people could not um, feel the same thing as her. But we thought that it was better to leave things open, and so that everybody that experienced that kind of coming out could see themselves in this song.
Can we hear
Can
you?
you hear me now?
Yep, now we hear you.
I'm very sorry. Nothing works today.
No, it happens. As somebody who lives
It's
in
a
New York,
terrible
I've been
way.
on the subway plenty of times, stuck on the subway plenty of
Yeah.
times.
Yeah.
So,
There are huge strikes in Paris. It's a hell now to live in the city.
it happens. It happens.
I'm very sorry.
Anytime, anytime. But when I, one thing I found fascinating too with this album is actually the visual aspects of it, because I know like with the Harvest, with singles such as Spring Harvest, for example, or like it's kind of like a close up of what we see in the album, almost kind of like the objects. Is there like a significance between the knife that's being held and the fruit that is also like a close up to that?
Yes.
Yes, yeah, we wanted to be like a symbolic painting, you found in the late Europe and everywhere in the world, but Baroque paintings, and all the symbols are really important in it. The fruit, the pomegranate, is for the desire. The knife is for anger. And Edith has a wilted rose in her hand, and it's for sadness.
Melancholy.
Yeah.
Melancholy.
Melancholy, yeah.
And are they symbolic again towards your personal experiences in a way, or are they like, is there like, do these objects have personal meanings to both of you, to all of you?
It's universal symbols for desires and anger, and we really wanted the artwork to speak to everyone.
Yeah, there's those themes in the whole album, and we wanted it to be seen by the people before listening to it, because the desire is not only in spring harvest, it's the desire to live. It's every object can be read in different ways, and so the knife can be what you're angry in, when you're angry at someone, but also when you're angry at yourself. And we wanted people to be really open about it, and when they see the cover and when they listen to the song, they're like, oh, which object can I attach to one or another? And you can read the full and listen to the full album through the eyes of these three objects, I think. Yeah.
Was what you were exploring on this Two Shall Pass, is that at all connect with the Fates EP as well that you released in 2021? Was it almost are they connected in a similar element?
Not really, because at first when we began Grandma's Ashes, even our name says that, it was kind of there was a black humor, and we did put a distance between our feelings and what we were writing. For example, Dead Issues is a song about Eva's parents, but we kind of gave a funny name to it, because we were like, oh yeah, it's important matters, but let's just laugh about it. And then with this Two Shall Pass, we said something like, okay, we're grown-ups now, we have to face our emotions, and not hide behind those kind of jokes, and just be really straightforward about our emotions. And I think musically, the Fates and this Two Shall Pass are connected. It's in the continuity, but in the subject of the song, we're more aware of ourselves, and we're more true to ourselves after this album.
Yeah.
I might be asking this question way too soon, being that this Two Shall Pass is brand new still. But is the subject matters that are explored on this album? Is this the plan to explore this through the entire longevity of Grandma's Ashes? Is this going to be the main subject matter, or are you going to explore other subject matters? I feel like from what I hear in this music, you are a band that has a lot to say, and that whether it will be from internal or external.
For me, I don't know yet, but I think we are really sticking to the actuality and what's new in our lives, what's new in our country and in the world. And this album was mainly about thoughts we had during the lockdown, and now some songs are old, and new ones maybe are coming with new subjects too, with the evolution of the world and our minds. And yeah.
I think at this time, with what's happening in France and in Paris, we live in a, well, like you said, it's like New York, it's a big city. It's really violent, and especially right now with all the strikes and the politics. So I think that maybe the next songs are gonna be, it will still be in an introspective kind of point of view, but I think that makes things more violent because of what's happening right now in France and in Paris. Yes.
Yeah. And from the visual, going back to the visuals, as somebody who's one of my favorite painters is Jacques Louis David from the neoclassicism era. Like I saw a lot of, again, classical elements behind it. It almost seems like you are the soundtrack for what we're all feeling internally. I think it's what the way I interpret this too shall pass is what's happening on the inside of our minds is, and what's inside our hearts is not very different from what's happening outside in the world. I think we speak of fighting to resist this world, but what about the battles within ourselves?
Yeah, I think that's beautiful to read this album like that, and that's actually what we wanted to share with the people. Yes, it's just what was happening in our hearts during the pandemic, and during even before that was like emotions we couldn't face, and we just took time while the world was still to face them. Yes.
And the final question I wanted to ask is when you all are writing together, do all of you need to be in the same emotional headspace? Because in the end we're all individuals. That's what a band is. It's a compromise of individuals making music together. Do you think that maybe feeling differently or having different emotions or having different experiences actually helps to the diversity of your sound? Because again, I wouldn't define Grandma's Ashes by just rock or just metal or prog or anything. I think it has many different styles within it.
Yeah.
Wow.
Thank you for all your kind words. But we're really open to each other. I think when some of us come with an idea, we're just like, we're not trying to be like, oh, me too. We're just like, oh, okay, what do you feel? What do you see? And we're trying. Sometimes we're just like, oh, it doesn't. It doesn't ring a bell for me, but you know what? You're going to write the song, and we're going to be in your mind and do it musically as close as what you see. And sometimes there's songs like Cassandra, or like the three of us are really anxious about the world and the climate changes, and we're like really concerned, the three of us. But we like to just let space for each other to express, and sometimes it's common and sometimes it's individual, but we know that that for some people in our public it will echo, and so we just think we need to express whatever we want to.
Yeah, and if it don't rings a bell for all the three of us, we just ask to the one who had the idea, the first idea, is it okay for me to interpret it like this? Is it okay if I play this my way? Is it true to your subject and your state of mind at the moment? And most of the time, yes. So
Yeah.
Well, I mean, because with what you have to address, it almost seems like there's a lot of conquering and facing your own demons. And obviously, creating art makes it very cathartic and it's a good release. But does that
Yeah.
also maybe make the creative process also deteriorating or intimidating in a way, too? Because I feel like there's an art to confronting your demons that sometimes, the artistic process can make you succumb to madness.
It took time for us, I think, to be that close and that okay with the demons, because at first, and that's why we liked humor in the first song, because we were like, oh, you know what, I have this subject, it's so not funny, but we'll make it funny to just talk about it. And it took us 6 years to be really confident and be like, okay, this is really sensitive. I don't want you to make any jokes about it. And we're like, okay, and. But yeah,
I think Daddy Issues was an icebreaker for that.
Yeah, it was one of the first songs we wrote, and for this album, I think that some songs were really emotional. It was really painful not to cry, the three of us, while recording it. There were a lot of moments that were really intense, especially when Eva was singing, because we wrote a lot of the lyrics together, and listening to her put words on some really intense feelings was sometimes we just had to not look at each other like, okay, it's too much now.
I wanted to cry the whole process, the whole recording.
Yeah. Well, the raw emotion is evident on this album, so I could tell. I think all the pain was definitely worth it, and it paid off. So.
Thank you.
So before we go, I want to thank all of you so much for coming on to the show today. Is there just anything else with the release of this new album, and what else you would like to promote for Grandma's Ashes in the future?
Well, make Grandma's Ashes in New York happen. I want to say.
We would love to play in America.
We want you in America so bad. I've been telling a lot of people about this album, so.
It would be.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you, Alex.
Anytime. Everybody, we are here with Grandma's Ashes. This too shall pass. It is out now. Pick up the record. You will not regret it. This is Alex from Heavy New York, and we will see you next time.